Hi, everybody. My name is Troy Tisserand with Four Pillars Consulting. And for those who don't know me, I'm one of the founders in the business a long, long time ago, almost 20 years ago. And I've been teaching financial literacy now for more than 16 years in various capacities, not only creating financial literacy programs. I sit on many different collaboratives and boards. And I'm very much involved in helping people move forward financially. So today we're going to go through Four Pillars budgets. And this is actually part of a ongoing series that we have for those that might be in the aftercare portal. And it's under our life skills. So this is about what is your relationship with money and how to simply use money as a tool in your life. And so for anyone who may be watching this, they may have already gone through some debt restructuring and they're now looking to rebuild. And this is one of the courses that you'd be taking in the aftercare portal, as well as all the other education that we have for those that have been through our services. So the first thing I want to go through is this concept that life is a journey. And so as I alluded to on the previous slide, this series looks at money behaviors over time that can be changed for the better. So if you've experienced financial difficulty in the past, your past experience doesn't necessarily have to be what your future is going to look like. And so this series explores these 6 different steps. This is step 4. And really what we're going to look at today is plan how to accomplish what you want in life. And if you're going through the aftercare portal, you'll have already gone through the first 3 steps in these ongoing webinars, and 5 and 6 is just coming around the corner. And so today we're going to be working on step 4, and we're really going to be talking about budgets and how they have such an impact on our life. So I just want to start off by saying that obviously I've been able to help many people over the years in many different capacities. And kind of the one theme that always comes forward is budgeting is boring. And I couldn't agree more. But what I always say in my response back is life is exciting. So budgeting is really a tool. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, a tool that we can use in our toolbox to really help us get the things that we want in life. So most consumers don't understand how budgeting works. And it's very much based on our core beliefs. So one of the things that we have to understand is that everybody has a relationship with money. And in many cases, those relationships start very early when we are children. And there's this, as we go through this kind of our childhood, we have different aspects of our life that get implanted into our brain around the world and how we interact with it. And money is really no different. And so with money, what's occurring is we are having some early relationships with money. We're seeing people deal with money in our early childhood, sometimes positive and sometimes negative. And these actually have long-term financial repercussions for us as we become adults. And so there's even some concepts out there that many people and some of the challenges that you've had in your lifetime actually may not even be your faults, that they may be from some early imprinting that occurred while you were children, and this is carried through your life. So emotions about money can range from being petrified and absolute fear all the way through to having no respect for money. And we kind of have that at the other spectrum as denial. And all of us, depending on what type of situation we're in or what kind of day we're having, we can range all the way from absolute fear to denial at any given point. But we typically have a default. And so learning what that default is very, very important for us as we start to think about how money is such an important part of our life. And so budgeting is really about making daily choices and something that many struggle with emotionally. So one of the things we have to acknowledge when we're talking about budgeting, we're talking about money, is that over 90% of the choices that we make in life are based on deep-rooted emotional choices, not logic. So a really good example would be here, one that I often use is an individual. He's going through a midlife crisis. We're referring to a man in this case, and he decides at the age of 50 he needs a red Porsche. Okay, they're not practical in gas. They're only a two-seater. They're expensive. They're expensive to repair. They're expensive to insure. But based on kind of where that individual's at in the midlife crisis, he decides that indeed he wants to buy this red Porsche. He could still get to work if he so choose, driving a Toyota Corolla. It's all got four wheels, it's got steering wheel, it's got an engine, they all run on gas. But instead of a practical, kind of a logical car that could be good on gas, it's obviously going to be cheaper on insurance, maintenance, and all that type of other stuff. Instead, he's bought this red Porsche. That is very much an emotional decision. And I would challenge everybody on the call, if you go through your day and think about many of the choices that you make in life, whatever they might be, many of these are emotionally driven choices. So we have to recognize this as something that's very much part of our budgeting. And money is a tool. So I want everybody to think of money like a hammer. So if we have a hammer in our hand, if we use that hammer in the right way, we can build a home with it. We can take from nothing, just some wood and some nails and an idea, we can build a home. If used wrong, a hammer can also be used to destroy something. So, you could take, I don't know, like a plant pot or a car, and using this hammer, you could absolutely destroy this same type of process. So a hammer, like money, is a tool. We can build things with it. So in this case, we can build the life that we've always wanted. We can build financial security. We can, build the down payment to buy ourselves a home. And if used wrong, of course, what ends up happening is it can destroy many things around us, including sometimes our own self-confidence. And really, when we're thinking about money, think of it like this tool, or in some cases like a car, and it's like a vehicle. And what we can do with money and with some budgeting is say, well, you're here at point A, and you've got some choices to make about your life. You've got some decisions to make. But really, when you look out into the future, you really want to be where point B is. And so how do we get from point A, which is where we are today, all the way over to point B? And for you, you might think of point B as, what are the things that you want in your life? What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? What if tomorrow you could flick a switch and have whatever you wanted? Point B really represents our goals or what we envision our life to be. And money won't buy us happiness, but it's going to be the vehicle that gets us from where we are today to where we want to be. So think of it as that tool, that vehicle. And what happens is, and through this series, we are going to remove the emotion around money and really see it for what it is. And that's very important to be successful with money, to be able to see it as it is, and not to be emotionally charged with it. So we're gonna have a little bit of work we're gonna do together here. And one of the things that I want to discuss is that I actually mentioned before, I teach financial literacy, and I teach people how to teach financial literacy. So we bring them all together over a 2-day course. We actually spend an entire morning just focusing on an individual's relationship with money. We put them through some different exercises and different experiences they might have, and this really helps people kind of understand how money can be emotionally charged. So we're going to go through just one of these exercises because it's going to help us kind of understand, this relationship that everybody has. So we're going to perform a mental exercise. In a few minutes, believe it or not, I'm going to stop talking. And then I want everybody just to spend 2 minutes, that's all I'm asking, and to think about this mental exercise. So I want you to think back to your childhood and think about your earliest memories of money. In many cases, you're going to be very, very young. You could be as young as 8, 10, 12. Some people remember money experiences because of some of the trauma around it as early as 6. Some may not remember it until there's 12, and there's no right age. It's about thinking about money and what was those early experiences that you have. And when we think about this memory, who was part of that memory? Did you see your parents fighting about money? Did you see people embarrassed by money or feeling ashamed? Did one or both parents hide purchases from one another? Maybe you grew up in a single family home, and maybe along those lines you saw money as a scarcity, or maybe it was abundance or overspending. And there's no right or wrong answer. So what we want to be able to do is look at what is your relationship with money. I want you to think back to that early experience. And I'm going to give you a couple of minutes right now. I'm just going to pause and try to remember as much as you can. And in those memories, I want you to think about any emotions that you may have, and let those kind of flow into you, and just think about this process. And then we're going to come back to the presentation. So you have 2 minutes, approximately 2 minutes, starting now. Go. Okay, so as we start to think about those relationships with money, um, sometimes it can help to jot those down on a piece of paper. This is probably the first time that you've really started to think about how you do have or potentially have emotions attached to money. And these are deep rooted, subconscious memories and affiliations that you have, and they may resurface anytime that you either are in your default, or in many cases, when money becomes a stress point for you. We tend to resurface some of these emotions. And actually, there's a lot of work around memory work, and some of the strongest memories that people will have, and for the longest period of time, are generally the ones that have the most emotion that are associated with them, the highest impact on who we are. So when we think about this early memory of money that you may have had, how is your relationship with money different now than those earlier experiences? If you think about money right now in whatever situation that you're feeling, are they similar or are they different? This is going to help us start to understand a little bit about how emotionally, how money has become part of this emotional association, and this has long-term repercussions not only for you now, but well into your future. So this is where we just talked about briefly, and I'd mentioned that on an earlier slide. Money is a vehicle. It's not right, it's not wrong. It's like a car. And the great news about car is it can very quickly help us get from point A to point B, a lot quicker than it could, let's say, if we decided to walk. So if you understand that money is a vehicle, and it can move us from point A to point B, then what is point B? And so point B essentially is whatever you want in life. What are your dreams for your future? What if tomorrow, money was a non-issue? A time you had limitless amount of times. What would be the one thing that you want to do? And we often think, if you had an unlimited amount of time and money, it would be this grandeur thing, like living in the Taj Mahal. But that's not really how we are as humans. In fact, we have relatively, I would say, simple aspirations. Sometimes it might be, just never having to worry about money again, or it could be, to buy the home of your dreams, and it's not a 20,000 square foot mansion. It's just a home where you can call home with your family. And our brains are an incredibly powerful muscle, and it allows us to focus our energies on whatever, both positive and negative, we think is important. So, so as we start to think about the things that we want in life, we have to envision how not only do we deserve those things, but it's the things that we really want. And if you really want something bad enough, I truly believe in life, you can accomplish those things. And so this is about you thinking about, what do you want your life to be like? So setting a goal is building a reason why we want to be at point B in the future. So this is where again we talk about, why is goal setting? Everybody's, oh, create a goal, think about this, but the goal is the why. It's the reason we get out of bed. It's the reason we, have to deal sometimes with uncomfortable situations, or we have a bad day and we don't quit and then just go home. We're like, nope, got to come back tomorrow. The why is our motivation. The why is what keeps us moving forward. So sometimes writing a SMART goal is about building that roadmap to get there. And so if you've gone through our robust 4 pillars aftercare portal, we have a whole section just on SMART goals. And SMART goals is just about being really precise about what we want. So it's instead of saying, oh, I want to be rich someday. Well, rich to different people can mean different things. It's I would like to save, $400,000 to be able to live comfortably and never have to worry about money again. So it's got a time frame in there, it's got a dollar value, and it's got all the things that allow our brain to really focus in on what we really want. And so my advice around this module, which is totally about budgeting, is before anyone even thinks about budgeting, know what your point B is, or you're wasting your time. Because as I've already alluded to, budgeting is incredibly boring. It can be monotonous. Of course, I know people that just absolutely love budgeting and they go down to every penny, and I think that's wonderful. That's certainly not me. But budgeting is about making the financial choices that we need to make to move us forward, to go from point A to point B, to use money as a vehicle. It's our why in life, and it's what makes us consistently go back to our budget, to follow our guidelines, because we want to reach that goal. And if we can use our brain to accomplish that, then simply anything is possible. So we're going to start to jump into some of the budgeting stuff. I know you probably thought to yourself, wow, this thing isn't about budgeting. It completely is. But budgeting, just talking about budgeting, doesn't really make any sense unless we understand some of the slides that have come before this. So do you know what that process of budgeting is more important than what you save? So what I'm saying here is the process of going through and understanding where you spend your money every day is more important than any money that you actually save. See, most people, again, coming back to budgeting, they get fixated on the bottom line. I made this, I spent this, I have to save $300, or I've somehow haven't followed my budget and I'm somehow off track. But actually, that's not why budgeting is important. It is the process of mapping out and deciding what we spend every day, following our budget and being conscious of the things that we spend our money on. This is the difference between success and failure. It is teaching our brain to say no, no, I'm just going to have some fun here. No, I don't want to eat out this Friday night because yes, I do want to buy a house and that's my goal. So we're making these conscious decisions about what we really want in life and what we really want to focus on. And in doing so, we're making our day-to-day decisions. And it's why more than 90% of budgets fail, because people tend to think of budgets as this absolute. I had in my budget, I had to spend $300, but darn it, I only spent, or sorry, I only saved $299. Budgets don't work. And so they discount budgets, they stop trying to save money, and they give up. That's either because, number one, they didn't reach their goal, which doesn't make any sense because, of course, life happens while you're making plans. And the process of budgeting is going to move us closer. The fact that you saved $299 and you didn't get your goal of $300, you did amazing. You knocked it out of the park. You should be proud of what you've done. So most people create what we call this perfect world budgets. And when they don't save what they planned, they give up. They tried for 2 or 3 months. I'm supposed to save 300 because nothing ever happens to me. My car never breaks down. I don't get a flat tire. The kids don't need school fees. And I only saved $100 instead of $300. Budgets don't work. I give up. And then they just slide back. What's really happening is their goals aren't important enough for them. And they're not being able to make those daily choices because they really want to buy that house and they're going to give up, sushi on Friday night. In reality, no budget is perfect. It's meant to be a guideline. It's meant to control our spending habits, and it allows us to say no to some things because we want to say yes to the things that are important in our life. We want to move from that point A to point B. Having a goal that gets us to plan B is the reason not to spend money. And I just kind of said that in the past. So budgeting is about making decisions. It's about knowing what our why is. It's our reason for getting out of bed, and it's our reason to, to make smarter financial choices. And remember, if you shoot for the moon and you miss, you still hit the stars. And so again, I don't know anybody and I've never met anybody who firmly believes and knows what their goal is. They might not get it in the exact time frame that they want, but they always reach their goal. And the reason for that is because they just don't give up. So what do we know so far? Let's kind of just do a quick recap and then we'll jump into some more budgeting concepts. Everyone has a relationship with money, so you need to know what that relationship is. We didn't spend a lot on relationships and money in this one, but they are in previous videos. Over 90% of the decisions that we make in life are emotionally based and triggered. So we have to know if stress levels go up or something in our environment triggers us, we're more likely to make an emotional decision, not a logical one. Money is a tool, so think of it as a vehicle, and it's going to get us from point A to point B, and point B is where you want to be in the future. And so the very first thing I recommend for everybody is know what you want. And if you don't know what that is, that's okay. We can help you realize some of those goals, but that's something that you're definitely going to want to explore. And the easiest way to do that before I move on is take a moment, close your eyes, and say, if time and money had no limits, what do I want in my life to make me happy? And just take a moment and think about that. And then when you think you know what that is, imagine yourself in that situation. Are you happy? Or are you sad? That's going to give you some really important cues for you to really make sure that you have the right goal. And if you do have that right goal, grab onto it, never forget it, write it down, and go after it. If you don't have a goal, plan B, don't waste your time on budgeting. You'll find that just like everyone else who's tried budgeting, except for a few select amazing individuals, you're going to find it boring. You're probably not going to follow it, and that's not your fault. You're just not motivated enough. You don't know why or how you want to get to plan B. You don't know what your point B is, so you're never going to reach it. All budgets fail because life happens while you're making plans, and it's the process of budgeting that helps us get us to where we want. If you're new to budgeting, always start small and work your way to bigger things. And so, Rome wasn't built in a day, and be in a position where you're slowly, working through small savings goals and then work your way up to bigger savings goals. And finally, be kind to yourself. It's my experience that I find people are way harder on themselves than others are around them. And so, life truly is a journey. Some of my greatest lessons that I've ever learned have been from my failures, not from my successes. And so, if you're in a position where you feel like you might have, made a few mistakes, you have a few failures, that's life. The most important thing that you can do is to learn from it. Pick yourself up, learn from it, move forward, and then never look back. So the 5 stages of budgeting are awareness. This is stage 1, realization that this skill is required to accumulate wealth. I don't know anybody who has accumulated wealth who doesn't have a good control mechanism on budgeting. Initiation, seeking out help, setting goals, making and understanding what you want to prioritize in your life, and then moving that forward. Step 3 is really this tool introduction. What tools are you going to need to use in order to reinforce your goals? And so this can be a couple of different things. It can be either a tool around what is your point B, where is it that you want to go? That can be a tool. So visualization or description of what you want in life. And it can also be what kind of budgeting tools do you need to use? Is it a pen and piece of paper, an Excel sheet, an app? Doesn't really matter what you're using as long as it works for you, you're comfortable with it, and essentially it's allowing you that most important step, which is to get a handle on where your money is going. Skill development. So budgeting must be followed for a minimum of 6 months. So only after we've been following a budget for a minimum of 6 months do we really start to build key skills around this. And so anything less than 6 months, it's probably not going to be enough of a change in your habits, a change in your viewpoints. You're probably not going to have enough kind of like consistent reinforcement of budgeting to make budgeting a new skill for yourself if you don't already have that skill. And finally, and the last stage of budgeting is what we call behavioral change. So after 12 months, this new skill actually becomes instinctual and self-control is learned. So I read a long time ago, if you want to be a professional in any type of sports, you have to do that action, whatever that is, more than 12,000 times. So if you were, think a baseball player, and of course they throw the ball at you, and you have to, hit the ball, and it's like a home run. You have to hit the ball 12,000 times in order to be that skill caliber. If you were a basketball player, I suppose it's probably the same thing. You got to get 12,000 dunks, right? The more that we do this, repetition is the mother of all skill. The more that you learn these skills, the more that you do it, the more that it becomes habitual. And so for myself, what I'll say is it's probably no surprise. I've been budgeting now for a really long time. I wasn't very good at it to begin with. I grew up on a small island. And so as I did learn how to budget, I don't necessarily have a budget that I follow every month because my budget is pretty much the same, but I am bang on. It's an instinctual process for me, and actually I can run my budget in my head, and I'm pretty good at staying on track without any tools, but I've been doing it for a really long time. And of course, that's allowed me to make money. And obviously, we all have to spend money, but I always have money left over, and I've been able to do well for myself. So lifestyle assessment is habitual and needs to be considered as part of the budgeting process. So we need to look at lifestyle. This is very important. Change must be incremental and gradual to ensure transitions are made without heavy emotional disruption. So I put this in here because I'll give you guys some kind of real life examples that I've seen in some of the work. Somebody is they smoke or they have it or they drink. It doesn't really matter which. And they say, okay, that's it, Troy. I am going to save $400 a month. I'm going to quit smoking cold turkey tomorrow, and that's going to save me $200 right there. As you can all imagine, before they ever get to the end of the month, they're gonna give up their budget. So what's gonna happen is, again, I'm not a smoker, but my parents used to smoke. They go cold turkey, and about 2 weeks in, they got the sweats. They're agitated. They regret everything. They're angry at everyone. And for anyone who has different habits, there's this drastic emotional change which is occurring in their life because they've decided budgeting is so important, and I don't really need to worry about certain aspects of my lifestyle. I'm going to discount all these negative behaviors, and sure enough, 3 weeks out, they're back smoking again. The budget's rolled out, and the whole process has been unsuccessful. So what we need to be able to do is to say, how do you accomplish the life that you want without necessarily spending all the money that is part of that? And we're going to talk about that in different series, but just know we need to make very small and gradual and incremental changes in our life. Do not attempt these massive changes, because the emotional damage that it does will put you right back into your previous habits. So we're going to talk a little bit about the emotional stages of budgeting, and we've got a few more slides and we should be done. So phase 1 is shock. So this is where we're assessing your current lifestyle with using 30 days of receipts. So if you're kind of new to budgeting, the best thing to do is just to save your receipts. It doesn't really matter what our lifestyle is. It's about understanding what that lifestyle is and then being able to make those small incremental changes as part of the budgeting process. Phase 2, we want to start to look at making some adjustments. So, after we've been able to save our receipts, we might start thinking about what does a budget look like, and then make some small incremental changes based on some realistic assumptions. So for me, I love to drink coffee. So, in the old days, I used to, go to the office every day, and sure enough, I was just like some of the other people. I'm in this lineup, I'm getting a Tim Hortons coffee, and every day I'd drive to work drinking a cup of coffee, and it relaxed me, it got me ready for the work day, all of that type of great stuff. Then I started thinking about that. Wow, I'm kind of spending a lot of money on coffee. Now, we've gone back to my earlier example, and I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to cut out drinking any coffee in the morning on the way to work. I probably wouldn't have survived a month. After probably about a week, I would say, I'd be, irritated. I'd be upset. I would be, maybe disorientated because I didn't have enough coffee, whatever the case might be. So instead, what I did was, instead of buying coffee every day, I bought a nice coffee maker. I bought Tim Hortons coffee, and I used to brew it with a timer, and I still do this now, in my house. And then when I woke up in the morning, my Tim Hortons coffee was ready for me. I would pour my cup of coffee into a travel mug, and then I would take it with me. And I still was able to have the same lifestyle that I had before, but I was saving hundreds of dollars a month, believe it or not, even back then, by brewing my own coffee. That's where That's kind of the holy grail of budgeting, is you still get the things that you want in your life, but you're not spending the top dollar for it. So in phase three, as the emotional stage, we start to have confidence. So here we begin to reduce our expenses, again, without drastically changing important lifestyle choices. So if you're somebody who, you need to run every day and go to the gym, well, if that gym pass is important to you, then continue to go to the gym. But maybe what you do is you say, well, I'm running anyways. Why don't I, instead of going to the gym, give up my gym pass? I'll run outside. I can use that money for something else that's maybe more important. So phase four, this becomes habitual. So involve the family and work towards some of those common goals. So in my example, today, still many, many years later, I set my coffee maker up the night before. It's on a timer. Um, the coffee maker starts, it brews the cup of coffee. I wake up and I go downstairs. My coffee is waiting for me. And it's like my habit that I love, but it doesn't break the bank in doing that. And to this day, I still drink coffee first thing in the morning before I start my day. Other key points, budgeting, even bad budgeting, must be done for 6 months or longer to become habitual. So what I mean by bad budgeting, that's just a reference there. If you're going through the process of budgeting, but you're not seeing a lot of money being saved yet, you are still being successful, and you're still learning this skill. And that is the most important aspect that we need to focus on. And that budgeting is learning self-control. And we're all human, so slip-ups happen, but don't beat yourself up over it. Say, yeah, that's it. You know what? I don't know. I forgot to make coffee the night before, so I'll pick up a coffee in the morning at Tim Hortons on my way to work. Yep, I deviated from my plan, but that's okay. We're human. And again, be kind to yourself. Life is cruel at times. And the last thing that we need to do is beat ourselves up over something that we're trying to improve in our life. And that's really brings me to the last point is, be kind to yourself. It's like I said, life can be hard, and we're all on a journey. And the bottom line is you'll get there if you want to get there. So a few budgeting methods. So we have kind of the traditional and modern. So traditional is the envelope method. This is preferred if no budgeting skills. Essentially here, we just keep all of our receipts, put it into an envelope. At the end of the month, we take all our receipts out, add them up into the different categories. That's going to create what I call a lifestyle budget. What is your lifestyle right now? Nobody cares. Nobody's going to judge you. So, if you like to drink a bottle of wine every Friday night and that's $20, put that into your budget. No one's going to judge you. This is to help you move forward. Acknowledge what that lifestyle is, and then as you continue to budget and you build some confidence, you can make some of these smaller incremental changes. The glass jar method, so this is where we're using cash and then pulling this out by our budget limits, and Excel sheets are all really good traditional budgeting tools. And there's lots of this in the aftercare portal. So if you're not sure what these are, the 4 Pillars Aftercare portal is filled full of details around these. And then modern budgeting tools, so banking apps. Most banks now have these budgeting apps or trackers. Coho is really good. Mint. You need a budget, Spendy, spending tracker, and some online banking portals I alluded to. So if you're not sure, you can just Google these and they'll come up right away. So my advice here is really just keep it simple, start slow, build confidence, and stay focused on your goals. You don't need to spend money on budgeting apps to learn how to make better decisions. So that's kind of one of my takeaways. I see a lot of people getting really fancy. They got all these apps and it does all this great stuff. At the end of the day, there's only one person who can make you spend money, and that's you. And let's face it, and this is my own personal note, it's expensive to live in Canada. So, You guys don't know me, but I consider myself relatively thrifty, I'm going to say. Some people might call me cheap. I'm okay with that because the bottom line is it's expensive to live in Canada. And so we need to be careful with how we spend our money. And everybody can learn how to budget, and it's a skill just like any other. So even if you haven't had success in the past, that's okay. Learning how to budget is like learning how to ride a bike, learning how to swim. Once somebody shows you the way, it will become incredibly easy for you to build this as a life skill. So here I'm just having some fun. Choose wisely, Grasshopper. This is one of a great movie, which was The Karate Kid. So I probably just dated myself there. It was a fabulous movie. Focus is the key. So know what you want for your goal, then make it as real as possible. And there's tons of techniques, and we're gonna share some of those here. Write out a SMART goal of how you want to accomplish your goal. If you don't know how to do that, you can certainly Google that. We have lots of information in our 4 Pillars Aftercare portal of how to do that. And think about posting pictures of your goal around your house, your fridge, put on your bathroom mirror or in your wallet or purse. The more real that you make this goal that you want in your life, the more that you're going to focus your energies, the more that it's going to drive you forward. And this becomes like the why of what you do after that. Do some online research about your goal. Read magazines or articles. Again, the more that you can envision this goal and make it real for yourself, the more motivated you are to accomplish this. And finally, imagine yourself experiencing that goal. So if your goal was literally to, let's go back to this example, buy a red Porsche. Well, you could go to the website, you could download the magazine. Maybe you could go on to the dealership and take the red Porsche for a drive, but don't sign a loan agreement. And then learn everything you want about Porsche and be like, yeah, this is it. I really want this car. And then what happens is you're going to start to make decisions that move you closer to that car. That's how our brain works. And the closer that you get to that goal, the more excited that you're going to be. My disclaimer is a vehicle is a massively depreciating asset and that won't create wealth. So make sure your goals are going to be something that's going to actually make your life better. Not that a red Porsche won't make your life better, but you're not going to make any money on a Porsche. In fact, cars go down every year in value. You probably lose money. And ask yourself every time you spend money, does this move me one step closer to my goal? And that's really what budgeting is trying to accomplish, is this focus. And finally, I just put in here the same thing that I tell my children, that life is about choices. So make reaching your goal one of those choices in your life. So your homework, for those that really want to go through this, you are emotionally attached to your why, the hardest part. So make sure that whatever you want in life, you become emotionally attached to that. The next step is to determine the next step is to determine the how for your why. So how are you going to get there? So that would be your SMART goal, might be a savings plan. It might be, you may have already done this, dealt with your debt, but there may be obstacles in the way. You need to identify what those obstacles are, deal with those obstacles as just one of the steps that you need to do to accomplish your why and to get to your goals. And you might want to start at looking at calculating how much money you need to reach your why. If you're not quite sure yet, that's okay. You can always do that down the road. But know, if I want to buy a house and that house is $400,000, what does that look like for me? Review or create your monthly budget. So make sure your budget is based on your lifestyle, not a perfect world budget. So that means understanding what your actual expenses are and building a budget from that. And then finally, you want to ask yourself, what are you willing to give up now to gain your why in the future. Budgeting essentially is a process by which we sacrifice short-term decisions or short-term things that we could have now for things that we want in the future. So my example would be I'm going to give up eating out on Friday night to save the money because I want to save for a down payment on a house because I want a place for my family to live, and it's one of my goals and it's going to help me create wealth. So we're looking at what do I'm saying no to now so that I can say yes in the future to what I really want. So 4 pillars helps Canadians deal with debt, and they give them back control of their financial future. So that's pretty much us in a nutshell. And for those that might be listening to this, we certainly do debt restructuring, but really debt restructuring is really just one step. There's the debt restructuring side, of course. There's the education, which is really important about looking at what you want and how you can accomplish those goals and making sure that you never get back to potentially being in debt again. And then things like credit rebuilding and all of that stuff that comes as part of your life journey. Thank you very much for attending and good luck on your journey.